so I thought maybe if I made like a national therapist directory that like had a mandate to challenge racism and homophobia and transphobia and was really into social justice and awareness, then I thought that could really challenge a site like Psychology Today, definitely.
This is Therapist Clubhouse, a podcast for private practice entrepreneurs. I'm Annie Schusler. This week, I'm talking to Jeff Guenther, a private practice entrepreneur in Portland, Oregon. Listen as we dive into how Jeff is growing profitable and ethical businesses and how he responds to and grows from even the most challenging feedback. So Jeff, welcome and thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I wanted to talk to you again because I like talking to you. And also over a year ago, we had talked about how you owned, I believe it was 5 businesses, including your therapy practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first question is, are you still running all of those businesses?
Now it's 6 businesses. But
maybe it was 6 at the time. I'm not sure.
No, it was 5 at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, I'm focusing a lot more on one of them. But I still have my private practice, but that's like down to maybe 8 clients a week.
Mm-hmm.
So really just sort of like 4 clients on Monday, another 4 on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And like getting to like the 4 each day thing has like really feels like it like freed up a lot of time and space and energy. Because before I was like doing up to like 7 or 8 in a day.
Yeah.
And that felt like I was just strained. I couldn't do anything but that. Actually, no, it is 5 now because one of the businesses I've shut down.
Which one?
It was called Well PDX, and it's an alternative healthcare directory. So you can go there to find acupuncturists, massage, naturopath, chiropractors. But that one just did not work out.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. I like learned a lot, like the whole cliche of you learn from your failures. Like I totally learned the most from that failure probably. I wasn't like, because I have like these successful therapist directories, and I thought if I could just pivot just a little bit into like acupuncture and yada yada, then that would like make total sense. But it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I can talk about why that didn't work out if you want to talk about it. But yeah.
I mean, one thing that I'm thinking is I like people knowing this because there can be this idea that successful entrepreneurs and the businesses they're running, that's just how it happened, that they just knew these are the businesses to open and then they opened them and everything went well. Mm-hmm. When in fact, like that's never the case. There are always businesses that we've created that haven't worked out, or there are at least chapters within our successful businesses that were not so successful. Mm-hmm. And it just to normalize that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, because when I created this local alternative healthcare directory, I was like, ooh, there's a gap in the market. Mm-hmm. There is no local alternative healthcare directory online. And so I was like, that could be a huge opportunity. Or maybe like people have tried it and it just didn't work. You didn't know which way. And so I was like, I don't quite know, but like I'm optimistic and innovative and I think that I could do it the right way. And I think I developed it and it looked really well and it worked really well, like the actual physical site. But even though I'm well known in my Portland mental health community, I'm not well known in the alternative healthcare community. Mm-hmm. So I didn't already have those relationships. And also those 4 types of practitioners that were using it, chiropractor, acupuncture, massage, naturopath, they get referrals mostly from word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And acupuncturists and chiropractors and naturopaths, they're like always full. So there's like I don't need more people. So there wasn't, and so like when a client, it seems like when a client is looking for a therapist, they usually go online, they're pretty private about it, they do their own little research, they take a while, and it's just like this own thing that they do on the internet, them and Google, and I can connect with those folks who are looking for that type of care. But like if you're looking for a good massage therapist, you're like, yo, Becky, give me a good massage therapist. Yeah. Like you're not like announcing it to the world, posting it on social media. I mean, you are doing that when you're like looking for a massage therapist, but you're
Uh-huh.
not doing that when you're looking for a mental health therapist.
Right. That's so true. I do think that those professions you just talked about, for some of the reasons you just said, are excellent people for therapists to network with because
Yes.
they are so often full and they
Hmm.
are exactly who someone would trust if they were
Hmm.
to feel uncomfortable enough with that person to ask them, like,
Oh
hey,
yeah.
who should I go to?
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, so I shut down that business, and then
cool.
I still do the Practice Academy, which is helping therapists boost their SEO and rank well in Google. Although that has like slowed down a bit, and I've let that slow down
Hmm.
because now I'm primarily focusing on the new National Therapist Directory, Therapy Den.
Cool. Okay, so let me see if I got them. There's Therapy Den, which is the national one, which is a lot happening in the Bay Area right now, where I'm
Hmm.
located.
Hmm.
There's the Portland Directory.
Hmm.
There is the SEO.
Yeah.
There's your therapy practice.
Hmm.
And then are you still renting therapy space out?
I am. So I'm still renting office space out on a part-time basis to therapists, and I have 5 different locations around town.
So did I just name all five?
Those are the 5. Then Well PDX
Is out.
is
Okay.
out. So yeah, so now it's just 5. It was
Okay.
5 and then it was 6 and now it's 5 again. Yeah.
And Therapy Den is the one that you're really focusing on that's growing.
Hmm.
And so I've been following that and I've noticed that Therapy Den, I mean, I'll be totally transparent. Like one thing that I think about a lot is how Therapy Den can really be an alternative and hopefully begin to replace
Hmm.
Psychology Today.
Hmm.
And so not all of what we're going to talk about has to have anything to do with Psychology Today, but I do think about how there are a lot of political and ethical problems with Psychology Today,
Hmm.
in my opinion,
Hmm.
in my strong opinion. And I think it's really interesting to look at like the kinds of messages that you're putting out there and how they're so different.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so can you tell me, I don't know if you want to talk about Psychology Today or not, but
Sure.
in terms of how you're positioning Therapy Den and what you're providing, what's the difference? Like what's unique about what you're doing?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I played up a lot when I first launched it. And I still talk about it, the differences, because I think it's important. But it's interesting because even though I think Psychology Today is flawed and other therapists feel that way too, there's also a good amount of therapists that love Psychology Today and are really protective of it. And so
Mm.
that was like an interesting thing that I kind of ran into where, so Psychology Today, at one point, although they have addressed this, they were sort of they had like gay conversion therapists on the site. They're also like based in the Cayman Islands, and they don't pay their taxes.
Mhm.
They're just sort of like this big corporate entity. Their magazine that they have that they send to all the therapists that are in our waiting rooms. It's like very white people focused,
Mhm.
usually like just sort of like beautiful white people on the cover.
Mhm.
So the diversity isn't there. Their search filters don't feel like good enough or competent enough to really kind of like focus on what people are interested in what clients are looking for today, like Therapy Den. You can filter easily for a therapist that has a racial justice framework, or you can look for a therapist by filtering for issues like if you wanted to talk about white privilege, your white privilege, or other people's white privilege, you can find a therapist that specializes in that, or health at any size. There's like lots of different things in Therapy Den in the search filters that Psychology Today just doesn't have.
Mhm.
So that, I still do kind of like make some videos comparing one site to the other. But like I said, there's a certain amount of people that are kind of like protective of Psychology Today because it works or it works enough, or they have like a brand that resonates with people. But they're just like this big Goliath. I feel like this huge, like you're a therapist in private practice. It feels like you must sign up for Psychology Today. And so, yeah, with Therapy Done, I want to challenge that. But it's really tricky challenging the behemoth of Psychology Today.
Yeah, I could see that. And also like this quote, I don't know who said it first, but I know Sally Hogshead has said being different is better than being better. And
Mm.
you're clearly really different
Hmm.
than Psychology Today. Therapy Done is really different.
Hmm.
And I really like it that you lean into that.
Hmm. Yeah, Psychology Today doesn't really have to like pivot or grow or move. Like they've got it. They've got like a
Mhm.
little monopoly. They have like over what I've from what I've been able to find, they have like over 50,000 therapists signed up for their directory. Like they're probably feeling pretty good.
Mhm.
So they don't really have to evolve with the times. And so I thought maybe if I made like a national therapist directory that like had a mandate to challenge racism and homophobia and transphobia and was really into social justice and awareness, then I thought that could really challenge a site like Psychology Today, definitely.
Yeah. So when you look at growing Therapy Den in the last year and more than a year, what has it meant to you to create an ethical business?
Well, it it feels like it has Therapy Den has so much more purpose and meaning compared to like my other little businesses that I
Mm.
run. The other businesses do have meaning and purpose, but they don't have this like added layer. And with all the things that I'm doing, they're all mental health related, and I care about mental health, and I'm a therapist, and that all feels really good. But also, the businesses, Therapy Done included, I'm also trying to make money,
Mhm.
and I enjoy making money and I want to make a lot of money, but it's challenging. I'm like really feeling like I'm in this sort of I'm really aware of like living in this capitalist society, and I'm starting to like think about that and what that means. And that's just sort of like a journey that I'm beginning. But Therapy then feels more like ethical than the other businesses I've created because they have this extra layer of social justice, awareness, inclusivity, and trying to fight racism, homophobia, and transphobia, and all the other like hateful things. So it just like I want it to be successful because I want it to work and connect clients with therapists, but it also is just like super empowering, and it makes me feel like, especially during these times, it feels like sometimes we don't know exactly what to do with ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
what can we do in order to contribute or like
Mhm.
be part of the resistance or, be more ethical and move society forward? It's hard to figure out what that thing is. For me, it's Therapy Den. I know
Mm.
I'm good at making therapist directories. I know I'm good at connecting clients with therapists and making sure it's like a better match. And so I'm going to do that. And so, you know how like a lot of people are coming into therapy and they're just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. Well, I kind of figured out what I need to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah. And like figuring out a way to bring your ethics and your politics into being an entrepreneur is
Hmm.
such a gift. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's definitely a journey that I've been on, for a long time and that keeps getting stronger and stronger of finding ways to use the business that I have
Hmm.
to spotlight other voices and to look at like, all right, how am I using this platform, and who's in my programs, and like who do I want to really support,
Hmm.
and looking at that way more than looking at like, all right, how do I add another zero to this business.
Hmm.
So although I like what you're saying about like, I love money. I like the kinds of things that become possible with
Hmm.
money.
Hmm.
And so combining those things
Hmm.
is really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So one of the things I've noticed you doing is finding ways to really listen to your customers.
Hmm.
How are you doing that? How are you getting customer feedback and then incorporating that
Hmm.
feedback?
There's like little things like, building a therapist directory. One of the things you have to like know of like all the insurance providers all over the country. There are so many.
Okay.
I knew this, but like it is ridiculous.
Wow.
So I get a lot of like feedback from either clients who are looking for a therapist or therapists that have signed up for the site of like, you're missing this insurance provider. So that's great. I can like add that real quick. So those sorts of things. And there's other therapists or clients as well who are like looking for a specific issue
Mm.
that might not be listed, or a specific like treatment orientation that might not be listed, and so I'm getting feedback like that. I created this little like web badge for therapists. Did you see that?
I'm not
um,
sure. No.
it's sort of like, if you sign up for like Psychology Today, you get like a verified by Psychology Today little like image that you can put on your website, and it links
Yeah.
to your
Like a
profile.
check mark thing.
A check
Yeah.
mark thing, yeah. So Therapy Den's version of that um, is an image that it's a little badge that says this practice is inclusive and welcoming to all.
Mm.
And then around the edge of the badge, it says this practice is inclusive and welcoming to all. And then it says to all genders, races, countries of origin, sexual orientations, religions, and abilities.
Mm.
But I got feedback from a therapist who specializes in eating disorders, and she was like, what's up with like body sizes?
Ah,
You
yeah.
don't say that I want a badge that says I'm accepting of all sizes and body sizes, or weights and sizes. And it's those types of like bits of feedback that are the best, and that I'm going to be able to be like, I miss this. You're right. I feel bad. I feel kind of guilty that like like I'm trying to create this website that's like inclusive and welcoming to all. However, I mess up every now and then, and I inadvertently am excluding people, and I didn't mean it. But there's like this whole community that's keeping an eye on it, letting
Mm-hmm.
me know. So it's those pieces of feedback that I love the most, and that also kind of like brings up lots of different emotions inside of me that I'm like, that I have to process.
That's interesting. And it makes me think too. I think you have to have a certain amount of trust with someone before they'll necessarily even give you that feedback. Right.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, I think probably the better you're doing at listening, the more feedback, negative and positive, you get.
Hmm.
So, so it's
Yeah.
kind of a good sign that you're getting feedback saying, hey, you missed this group because you
Yeah.
didn't miss all the groups, is why you got the feedback.
Right. And there's like, when I get feedback from people in Portland that
Mm.
know me, they're usually just like, hey, buddy, like, I know you're trying real hard. You missed this.
Mm-hmm.
Keep on doing good work. But then if I get feedback from somebody in Chicago that only knows, just Therapy Den and what the brand is, and maybe they don't even like know the whole brand or whatever they know about Therapy Den, and they send me a message. It's not usually like, "Hey, man, what's going on? Like, you're doing great. Here's a little thing you missed." It's usually like a little more like, this was supposed to be all inclusive and I don't feel included. What is wrong with you? You have failed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of different types of energy
Mm-hmm.
within the feedback that I get. And I think that like I've also created this thing where I'm trying to be really inclusive, but I'm also, and maybe we can get to this, I'm also like a white straight man that's doing this sort of like inclusive work. And so there might be somebody that sees me doing this and they're like, what's going on here? Like, and they feel like, I have failed. I haven't made an inclusive site. I've done something wrong. And then they sort of like, there's a lot of energy that's taken out on me. And I feel like, as like this white man that lives with this privilege, I feel like, okay, let's do it. Like, let it out.
Mm-hmm.
You can let it out on me. We can like think about this and process this together. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into the feedback that I get.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're kind of building resilience around getting that feedback?
I am, yeah, because like 5, 10 years ago, when I would get bits of feedback, and I was younger, 10 years ago in my 20s, I was really defensive. I was
Mhm.
like, you're wrong. I'm doing this right. I know better. It was
Mhm.
like this very 20s sort of like reaction, which was, maybe developmentally appropriate, maybe not. But I was like a lot more defensive. But when you start to create something that's not just local and national, you're going to get lots of different types of feedback, and you really have to be more resilient, and you have to like hear what the like good feedback is, even if it's wrapped up in like frustration or like rage or anger towards me. There's probably a really good nugget in there, and if
Yeah.
I'm offending this person, I'm probably offending a group of people that I'm not even aware of, so I really need to take that in.
That's awesome. I think that's like for all of us and all the business owners listening, I think that's true that it's really easy, and we know this happens in the therapy room, like it's really easy to feel like, all right, the way that you're delivering the message is hurtful, or, is
Hmm.
lacking something.
Hmm.
And instead of focusing on, like you said, what's the nugget that I really need to hear,
Hmm.
that I can appreciate. There's this book, and I don't know the authors, but I'll put it in the show notes. It's called Thanks for the Feedback. And it's about, I mean, one thing it's about is like getting really clear about what is the value in this feedback, and sometimes asking a lot of follow up questions to make sure that we really
Hmm.
understand the feedback, and that we're
Hmm.
not making any assumptions about what the person is saying, but that we really ask and listen and get clear so that we're acting out of a place of growth.
Hmm. Right.
Mm.
And one piece of feedback that I got is, so like I mentioned earlier, there's when you pick like a specific issue on the site, there's one of the issues is white privilege,
Mhm.
and I've written a few blog posts about that and put some thought into putting that in there because I feel like that's a really good thing to talk about in therapy. Even though there's not a lot of people that are going to the site and marking down white privilege as something but you know, uh, so one of the pieces of feedback I've gotten a handful of times are from white people that see white privilege as a issue, and they tell me like, this is not okay. There is no such thing.
Mm.
That you're like causing, controversy. I think you need to get your facts straight. And these are from like white therapists, not just like white non-therapists. So I got into like a lengthy discussion with one therapist who's like, you really need to take this down. This is not okay. And the thing that she said that really offended her was that she was like, I get what white privilege is, and I can understand that that is a thing. That's an actual thing that exists. But I don't like the term white privilege. I feel like it puts me off. I get defensive, and it makes other people get really defensive. And then white fragility came up in that discussion, and she hates that term even more.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, do you see what's happening here? Like, this sounds like fragility coming up right now. And she and a lot of other people have talked about that. Like, maybe fine, okay, white privilege, but call it something totally different because we white people don't feel okay with it.
Mhm.
So there's that feedback, which I valued and didn't take.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, you would be upholding white supremacy
Exactly.
by upholding that and protecting that white fragility. Yeah.
Right. And so I was trying to explain that, and other
Mhm.
people also were supporting when I was explaining, because this turned into like a Facebook comment feed.
And I'm sure like saying, "Oh yeah, using your feedback would actually be upholding white supremacy." I'm sure they loved that.
Interestingly enough, they did not.
Yeah.
They did not like that. But I thought it was really sort of fascinating to think about that and to try to sort of like influence this person into like understanding what was going on and white fragility, what that is, and yada yada. So there are some pieces of feedback that I feel like I'm not going to apply,
Yeah.
but that are noted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Maybe that's also like, as we're getting to making ethical business decisions, that you're making decisions in that case that are not just based on the bottom line, right? Like you're
Right.
making a decision that's based on your ethics.
Right. So she
Yeah.
was like, I will never sign up for a site like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's okay. And then there's other therapists. There was one in Kentucky who sent me a message. She was like, love it. I love Therapy Dan. I love the message, everything that you're doing. I will never sign up for it because if I did sign up for it and a client found me on it and then found out that Therapy Dan was like social justicey and progressive, then I would be associated with your brand
Mm-hmm.
and they would find me a suspect or they wouldn't trust me. Like all of a sudden the therapeutic relationship or rapport doesn't work or we have to process that or whatever. And so she's like, keep doing what you're doing, even though I'm not going to sign up for it. I was like, ooh, be brave, sign up for it. She's like, nah. I was like, okay, that's fine.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
So where are you finding community as an entrepreneur who's trying to make ethical decisions? Like, are you finding that community with entrepreneurs? Are you finding it with just close friends? Like, where do you kind of get to have those discussions that support you?
I'm finding that, yeah, I do find it with other entrepreneurs like in this space that are trying to innovate and make services for therapists. A lot of people in that space have like gotten on board and big cheerleaders and supporters. But I think mostly I find it locally.
Mm-hmm.
In Portland, there's a lot of people that are really excited and interested in it. Also in the Bay Area, there's like a huge, like a lot of good energy around it as well. And because of like the community and the conversations that I have, I'm like leaning towards starting a podcast as well to sort of like talk about all of these issues and be able to like invite other therapists on as well. But I think mostly my community is local, and then there's just like these little bunches across the country. One being the Bay Area, also in the Los Angeles area. Austin, Texas is like huge into therapy. Then, so I've gotten like a lot of good feedback from Austin. And then Chicago and New York are also really good places where people are like reaching out and supporting me and talking to me.
Cool.
hmm
So what's like, I love finding out about this nitty gritty stuff. Like, as you're prioritizing Therapy Den and you're also running these other businesses, how are you managing your time?
Um, well, it's tricky. I have this. I don't know if you experience this, but like when I'm when I'm really into a project and I'm feeling really enthusiastic and inspired, it makes it so that it's really hard for me to sleep because I'm buzzing,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So whenever that happens and I start to buzz, I'm just like, okay, I need to get this thing out. Whatever I'm buzzing about, I need to start creating. I need to like journal about it or write about it or draw about it or talk to my partner about it or whatever it is. I need to like get it out of my system. And that takes up a lot of energy. And once I eventually get it out of my system, that feels satisfying, but then I'm just sort of like burnt out. And it's hard for me to rebound quickly. I can also tell when there's like a pre-buzz to the buzz and I can stop it. I can be like, oh
Mm.
God, I have like clients the next 2 days. I can't be buzzing about different like business ideas. So I stop it in its tracks so that I can like focus on other things that are coming up. So having the private practice just in 2 days is really helpful because it gives me
Yes.
5 other days that I can like buzz around and do different things.
Oh, so you're working or you're allowing yourself to work 7 days a week?
I allow myself to work when I feel inspired to work.
Okay,
And
cool.
that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Cool.
But I like got a trainer and now I'm like working out 4 or 5 days a week,
Mm.
which has made it so that like it's really helped me balance certain things. like balance all the buzzing and all the different like, yeah.
Yes.
So that's really helped me get grounded and feel better in my body. And having a trainer, like you have to pay a good amount
Mhm.
of money to like have a trainer. And I know that like if I'm paying that much money, then I'm going to be really devoted to it. It feels like it's a
Mhm.
very serious financial investment. So I have to like take advantage of it. So I think doing a lot more exercise, stopping the pre buzz if I have like certain things that are coming up, and then trying to like recover after I'm like really buzzing and I get it out of my system. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a system where I've got a different theme of every day, every work day.
Oh.
So sometimes my buzzing, I just know it's going to have to wait. Like if it's a
Mm.
podcast buzz,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to have to wait till next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And so so it's just interesting to think about how we all titrate and like what
Mm-hmm.
works over the long haul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 So, what is there anything else you want to share before we have to end? Anything else you want to make sure that you share about your experience over the last year?
Let's see. Well, there's this one of the most tricky things about therapy, Dan, and getting like therapists to sign up for it is that I might be challenging Psychology Today or Good Therapy, other therapist directories, but I'm not doing that yet. And the only way that I can do that is to like get therapists to sign up. But a lot of therapists are just like, cool, yeah, I'll sign up for it once I know that it's like working really well. I'm just like, well, it's only going to work well until you sign up for it
Yeah.
and more people, more therapists sign up, then it's going to work well. So it's like this chicken and egg sort of thing. So
Yes.
there's a good amount of traction. Therapists are signing up, but there still isn't enough therapists to really challenge Psychology Today. And there needs to be thousands of therapists that are signing up. So it's been a really difficult marketing challenge of trying to like tell therapists like or ask therapists like please sign up, here's the whole mission, it resonates with you, that's fantastic, you're not going to get clients right away. I need to get like a lot more of you guys to sign up for the website. So here's like some special deals, or here's some like discounts, or yada yada, and also your profile is totally free. I'm not going to charge you until like there is actual traction in your city and normal like therapist referrals and stuff. But I'm still, you can give me feedback on this. I still feel like I'm asking a lot of the therapist to create an account, fill out their profile, which has a little more content than what Psychology Today asks for, and then enter your credit card, even though I promise I'm not going to charge you. I feel like there's a big ask, and that's just like a really tricky place for me to be, because I want to be able to provide all the therapists with like tons of really good client
Mhm.
referrals, but I can't quite do that yet.
Right.
Uh,
I guess I'm thinking like it's there's an opportunity for them. Like there's an opportunity in getting in
mhm,
as it's not huge yet. And
mhm,
so maybe that's something. I mean, this is how capitalism works. Like
mhm.
they've got to sign up before it's going to be as robust.
Right.
And there's an opportunity in being one of the first people to sign up.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity. You're competing against less therapists. It's a free profile. You get these like special bonuses. You're like
Mhm.
kind of like a little tiny founder. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So there are these opportunities, and I'm trying to kind of like, but it's like a funny. I think it's like a thing that I'm just struggling with on my own. That like, yeah, there's like all these fantastic things that you can get while signing up, but you still don't get as many client referrals as you should get, or I want you to get.
Mhm.
I've let you down, but I'm not going to. So trust me, believe me, it's going to work. But
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if it's like not fraudulent, but like I'm like I don't know what it is. I feel like I want to be able to provide more energy to the therapist because they're giving me a lot of energy back. So it's kind of like, and I think that's like common with a lot of businesses that anyone would start, where it's just sort of like, here's this thing, please trust me, it's going to like be great, but first I need people to sign up for it, and then you're really going to see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
uh, so it's just like a funny place that I'm in right now.
It's a funny place, but like you said, you're not charging them yet. So,
No, so it is free.
yeah. So that, I mean, like, let's not forget that.
Yeah,
That's,
let's not forget that. The thing that I'm like asking them for is their time.
yeah, your
I'm asking
time
them.
and their trust, like you said, in the process, that like they're putting their name in something.
Mhm.
And but I'm imagining for your directory folks, the wanting to be associated with your message is actually maybe the easy part.
Yeah,
It's like the time that's a little
right.
harder. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I know. So,
Cool.
yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. Where is the easiest place for people to find Therapy Den?
They can go to therapyden.com and they can click on a little button that says, start your profile or create your listing. They'll see all the benefits, and then they can log in or create an account and start their profile. And if you have any questions for me, you can email me at hello@therapyden.com. I'm taking all kinds of feedback. So if you think the site is missing something, or if you just think it's fantastic and beautiful, please let me know. That'd be
Awesome.
appreciated. Hmm.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great to talk to you.
Good talking.
Thanks for listening. This small but mighty podcast is growing thanks to you. So thank you. If you feel supported by this conversation, please share it with your best therapist friends and rate and review on Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next week.